Well, look at that, will ya? Here we are, Saturday morning for another show of Morning Coffee with Doc Jeff. This is episode 64. Can you believe that? Some of you are diehard listeners, and I really appreciate that because we try to have a little bit of fun with the things we're talking about. As I said, I'm Dr. Jeff Evenson. I'm a board certified doctor of holistic health. I do not practice medicine. I don't pretend to practice medicine. I do not prescribe, treat, or diagnose. I simply help people get their health back. Holistic health, I believe, is real health care, and this is what is needed to help people get back. To remind people who they are and to help them get their vitality back. And so I see some people jumping on. I appreciate that. You know, if you get a chance, say who you are in the chat. It's always fun to see where people are watching from. Okay. And get your coffees loaded up. I forgot to load mine up. It's almost empty, but that's okay. You know, the weather here in Minnesota, I always like to try to start off with something about the homestead. It has been hot. It's been raining. Today and tomorrow are supposed to be super hot. I managed to get the grass cut last night. Some people wonder how many chickens I have left. I'm down to 14. And that's okay. You know, when I started the summer out, I had 23, and there are predators around. Something is picking them off one at a time. I suspect it's a fox. We've seen him, but we haven't been able to prevent him from borrowing the chickens. Maybe he'll bring them back. Wouldn't that be something? Okay. All right. Well, as I said, if you get a chance, jump into the chat and say hi. It's always fun to see where people are watching the show from. And I got a good show planned today, I think. We're going to talk about vitamins. I don't know if we'll take the whole hour. Maybe we will. You know, last week I talked about protein. And, you know, this week I thought I would dive into vitamins. And, you know, it's something, when I'm working with new people in my practice, a lot of times it's very common, very typical to start off their programs with some type of detox effort, whether we're detoxing from heavy metals, toxic chemicals, maybe there's an immune challenge, a viral load, maybe there's pathogens we're trying to get out of there, whether that is in the form of, you know, parasites. And at some point, then it's in their program, it'll be time to introduce other vitamins to kind of start backfilling and helping feed the body instead of always just trying to detox and drain the things that are keeping you from healing. So with that in mind, I thought, let's talk about that on Saturday on the show. Okay. So it starts off, you know, I've got my notes here and whatnot, and I'm going to go through, but let me ask you a question. When was the last time you really thought about vitamins? Okay. Not just in passing, not when you walked by the supplement aisle at Walmart and saw the big green bottle with a catchy label on it. I mean, really thought about them. Okay. Most people don't. They assume that if they eat a little salad, grab a multivitamin, or maybe slam an energy drink, they've got it covered. Okay. But here's the truth. Most people in this country are walking around in a fog. Low energy, their hormones are out of balance, there's skin problems, gut issues, mood swings, And they don't even realize that in many cases, this comes down to one thing: their body is starving for basic nutrients like vitamins. So now you might thinking starving in America, we've got food everywhere. Yeah, we do. But here's what you need to hear. We've got plenty of calories, but calories without nutrition. You can eat 2,000 calories of garbage and still be deficient. You can be overweight and still be malnourished. And this is really what's killing us slowly. You've been sold this idea that deficiencies only happen in third world countries, and that's wrong. They're happening right here in the land of plenty. And most doctors, they're not looking for it. If your labs look normal, they send you home. Meanwhile, you're exhausted, your joints ache, you can't think straight, and your immune system is shot. So here's the reality: vitamins are the spark plugs of your body. Okay? Without them, nothing fires right. They don't give you energy directly, but they allow your body to use the energy that you already have. Take them away, and everything slows down, falls apart, and eventually disease sets in. So today we're going to get real about vitamins, what they are, why they matter, why so many people are deficient, the truth about natural versus synthetic. And the big question that everyone asks, do I really need supplements, or is that just a marketing gimmick? So stick with me, because by the end of the show, you're going to see vitamins in a way that you never have before. Okay? You're going to know which ones matter most, how to get them, and what not to waste your money on. And if you've been feeling off, low energy, brain fog, struggling to lose weight, this might just be the missing link that you've been praying for. And I'll put a shameless plug in there. Maybe it's at that time also to consider working with a holistic lifestyle coach or a holistic coach, health coach, who can help you navigate back into good health. Okay. So let's start with the basics. What are vitamins and why should you care? So your body is a high performance machine. Okay. And like any machine, it needs fuel and spark. Now, you already know about fuel: proteins, fats, carbohydrates. But spark? Suddenly I just felt like I needed to check my technology here. Testing. Okay. If you happen to be watching, let me know if you can hear everything okay. All right. So, you know about fuel: proteins, fats, carbohydrates, but spark. Okay. That's what vitamins are. They don't give you energy like calories do, but they let your body use that energy. They make everything work. So think about it like this: you can have a tank full of premium gas, but if you pull the spark plugs out of your car, that engine isn't going anywhere. You can have all the steak, broccoli, and sweet potatoes you want, but if you're missing key vitamins, you're stalling out. So let's get into the science for a second. Don't worry, I'll try to keep it simple, because that's how I understand it too. Every single thing your body does, every breath, every heartbeat, every thought, is powered by chemical reactions. Those reactions need enzymes to make them happen. But enzymes can't work alone. They need helpers called cofactors. And guess what those cofactors often are? Vitamins. Now imagine this. Your body's like a massive factory. It has assembly lines for hormones, energy, detox, neurotransmitters. Vitamins are the tools and supervisors that keep the lines moving. If even one tool is missing, production slows or stops. You don't feel it overnight, But over time, systems start breaking down. And this is what I see every day in practice. People walk in exhausted, anxious, gaining weight even though they're dieting. They can't sleep, they have no motivation, and they're looking for some big mysterious diagnosis. In reality, a lot of it comes down to the basics: missing vitamins. So we live in the land of plenty, but our food supply has been stripped bare. The soil is depleted, crops are grown fast, picked early, sprayed with chemicals, shipped across the country, and stored for weeks before they hit your plate. That apple on the shelf, it was picked weeks ago. Do you think it has the same nutrition as one fresh off of a tree? Not even close. So, and stress, let's talk about that. Most people live in chronic stress mode. Stress burns through vitamins like a fire burns through wood. B vitamins, gone. Vitamin C, gone. Magnesium, gone. You wake up, slam coffee, run on adrenaline all day, crash at night, and wonder why you feel like garbage. So let's give you some real world examples. Vitamin C. People think it's for colds. That's marketing. In reality, it's critical for collagen, the stuff that holds your body together. Without enough, your gums bleed, your joints ache, your blood vessels weaken. That's why sailors with scurvy literally fell apart. Today, we don't see scurvy, but we see low-grade deficiencies that cause weak connective tissue, slow wound healing, easy bruising, and yes, faster aging. Then there's vitamin D. Oh, that's just for bones, right? Wrong. It regulates over 200 genes. It affects mood, immune function, and hormones. Low D is linked to depression, autoimmunity, even cancer risk. And if you live in Minnesota like me, you're low. Pretty much everybody is, period. B vitamins. These are your spark plugs for energy. They run your nervous system, help you handle stress, and build neurotransmitters like serotonin and dopamine. Low vitamin B? Think fatigue, anxiety, brain fog, even neuropathy. And here's the kicker. Most doctors aren't testing for this. If your labs look normal, they send you home. But you're still exhausted, still anxious, still gaining weight. Why? Because the medical model doesn't look for optimal, it looks for disease. And deficiency isn't a disease until it's so severe that you're in crisis. So let me share something personal. Years ago, I thought I was eating healthy. I was in the Navy, staying active, but I was crashing hard. I was tired all the time, brain fogged, snapping at people for no reason. Doctors ran tests and told me I was fine. I wasn't fine. My stress was through the roof. My gut wasn't absorbing properly, and my nutrient levels were in the tank. It wasn't until I worked with a practitioner who understood this that things changed. And guess what? Correcting vitamin deficiencies was a huge part of it. That's why I'm so passionate about this, because people think feeling like garbage is normal. It's not. You don't have to live in a fog. You don't have to settle for low energy, bad moods, and constant sickness. Sometimes the solution is as simple as giving your body the raw materials it's begging for. So that's the big picture. Vitamins matter because they run the show behind the scenes. Without them, everything falls apart. And the reason this matters now more than ever is that we live in a world that strips them out of our food and our bodies faster than ever before. So now that you understand the why, let's break them down. There are two big categories you need to know: fat-soluble and water-soluble. And this matters because how you take them and how your body uses them depends on which camp they fall into. All right. So now that you understand why vitamins matter, let's dive into the next big question. What are these vitamins and how do they work in your body? So here's something most people don't know. There are two families of vitamins. Okay. Let me cue my screen up here. Fat soluble and water soluble. And why does that matter? Because how your body absorbs them, stores them, and even overdoses on them, yes, that's a thing, depends on which family they belong to. So let's break it down. I'm actually going to do a screen share. All right. So fat soluble vitamins, it's the first family of vitamins. These are your A, D, E, and K, and the name tells you everything. You need fat to absorb them. That means if you're on a super low fat diet, or if your gallbladder's gone, or if your bile flow is sluggish, guess what? You're probably not absorbing these vitamins well at all. Fat soluble vitamins are stored in your liver and fat tissue, which sounds like a good thing. You've got a backup supply, but here's the flip side. Because they store, they can build up to toxic levels if you go crazy with synthetic megadoses. So, what do these guys do? All right, vitamin A, it's not just for night vision, it's a big player for your immune system and for healthy skin. And ladies, those fancy skin creams, they're loaded with vitamin A derivatives for a reason. Okay. Vitamin D, we call that the sunshine vitamin. It regulates calcium, strengthens bones, but here's the real kicker. It controls over 200 genes. Hormones, mood, immunity, it's all connected. And you have to have vitamin D. I know for a fact I have low vitamin D, and I'm working on it. Vitamin E is an antioxidant powerhouse. This is the one that protects your cells from damage. Think of it as body armor for your tissues. And then vitamin K, most people never think about this one. It's critical for blood clotting and bone health. And get this, vitamin D and vitamin K work together. If you take D without enough K, and calcium can end up in your arteries instead of your bones. Vitamin K actually helps your body absorb the D much better. Okay, so here's a quick reality check. If you've had your gallbladder removed, you need to pay attention because without the bile salts, fat digestion and fat soluble vitamin absorption tanks. And this is one reason people struggle with fatigue, bone loss, and immune problems after gallbladder surgery. It's not just digestion, it's nutrition depletion. So let me tell you a quick story. I had a client who had her gallbladder removed 10 years ago. She was dealing with constant fatigue and brittle nails, even though she ate healthy. And when we tested her with nutrition response testing, she was screaming for fat soluble vitamins. So I supported her bile flow and replenished those vitamins. And in a few months, huge difference. More energy, stronger nails, better mood. The next family of vitamins are the water soluble ones. Okay. Now, these are your B complex vitamins and vitamin C. Totally different ballgame here. These guys dissolve in water, not fat, which means they don't store well in the body. Whatever your body doesn't use, you pee out, and that's why your urine turns neon yellow after a B complex. Okay, those are extra Bs your body couldn't use at that moment. And because they don't store, you need a steady supply every single day. You miss a few days and your levels will start dropping. So, what do these do? Well, vitamin C is your collagen builder, antioxidant, immune support. It's in every cell of your body. Okay. The B vitamins, These are the energy crew, and you can see it's broken down on the slides there. They turn food into fuel, build neurotransmitters for mood, and help you handle stress. If you're low on Bs, you want to think fatigue, brain fog, anxiety, poor sleep, even nerve pain. And you look at the B vitamins up there: B1, thiamine, energy metabolism; B2, riboflavin, growth and cellular function; B3, niacin, DNA repair and metabolism. You can have, there's a thing called getting too much niacin, and it can create a niacin flush. You get all flush in your face and all that because your body is trying to flush something out. B6 is your brain health, amino acid metabolism. B12, nerve function, red blood cells. Folate, DNA synthesis, pregnancy support. So here's the deal: if you're under chronic stress, and who isn't these days, you burn through B vitamins like crazy. Your body uses them to make stress hormones. So if you're in constant fight or flight, you're running a B vitamin deficit 24/7. And that's a good reminder for me, because as I'm seeing that tip again, I'm thinking of a couple clients that I want to go back and double check through quantum nutrition testing to see if I need to add B vitamins to their program. Because sometimes I know they're dealing with a lot of stress, or their nervous system is always in the on mode. So now let me hit you with a practical tip here. If you're taking a B complex, it needs to be balanced. Some people megadose B6 or niacin thinking more is better, and that they're actually creating new problems. I've seen people with nerve pain from too much B6. And there's one more kicker. Alcohol, I almost don't want to read this out loud. Alcohol wipes out B vitamins fast. So if you're drinking regularly, even a glass or two of wine every night, you're depleting your Bs and your liver vitamins like crazy. So why does all this matter? Why am I telling you all this? Because I see so many people doing the wrong thing. They grab a random supplement, don't take it with fat, don't realize they can't absorb it, or they think more is better and overdo it. Then they wonder why they're not feeling better, or why they're feeling worse. So here's the big takeaway for this segment. Fat-soluble vitamins need fat and good digestion. Water-soluble vitamins need daily replenishment. Get that right, and you solved half the puzzle of why your body feels off. And if you're thinking, Doc Jeff, this is starting to make sense, but how do I know if I'm low? Well, I use quantum nutrition testing. I don't guess. I test your body's response and see exactly what it needs. No cookie cutter plans, no wasted money on junk. I test it. And that's a simple muscle test, folks. Or if I'm working with you virtually, it's a quantum nutrition test. Okay. So now that you understand the two families, let's talk about the next big controversy. Okay. Natural versus synthetic. Because this is where most people are being lied to, and it's costing them their health. So let's rip the cover off of one of the biggest lies in the supplement industry. That's the myth that all vitamins are created equal. They're not. In fact, most vitamins you see on store shelves, the big box stores, the drugstore chains, are synthetic. What does that mean? It means they're man-made, chemically produced in a lab. And here's the part that most people don't realize. These synthetic vitamins often come from coal tar derivatives or petroleum byproducts. Yes, you heard that right. That's the foundation of your health supplement. Now you might say, well, if it's the same molecule, who cares? Well, here's why it matters. In nature, vitamins don't exist as single isolated chemicals. They come as complexes, full packages with cofactors, enzymes, and minerals that work together like a symphony in the body. So if you take vitamin C, for example, Most synthetic vitamin C is just ascorbic acid. And yes, ascorbic acid is part of vitamin C, but it's only the outer shell. The full vitamin C complex in nature includes rutin, bioflavonoids, tyrosinase, and other factors. These cofactors are what make the whole thing work. When you strip it down to one fraction, then you've got something incomplete and your body can't use it the same way. In fact, when you feed your body fractionated vitamins, just ascorbic acid, the body is going to pull resources from within to make the rest of the complex whole, and then it will break it down as a whole vitamin C complex. So you're actually getting a net loss in energy when you're taking synthetic vitamin C. So let me give you an analogy here. Imagine you've got a car, okay? The whole car represents the full vitamin C complex. Now, take off a tire and hand it to someone. You say, "Here, this is a car." No, it's a fraction of a car. And that's what happens when we take vitamins in isolation. We hand the body a piece and expect it to do the job of the whole. And here's where the story gets interesting, because one man tried to warn us about this almost 100 years ago. His name was Dr. Royal Lee. If you've never heard of him, write that name down. He was a pioneer in whole food nutrition. In fact, a lot of the whole food advice that I give out to people comes from him. And the supplements that we use come from a company that he created called Standard Process. He was a pioneer in whole food nutrition. Back in the 1930s and 40s, he saw what was coming. He saw that food was being stripped, processed, and refined, and that we were losing vital nutrients in the process. He also saw the rise of synthetic vitamins. Companies figured out they could isolate one chemical, make it in bulk, and sell it cheap. And they marketed it as science. And Dr. Lee said you can't take a fraction and expect the same effect. He fought for whole food concentrates, supplements made from real food, minimally processed, preserving the full complex. So what happened? Well, as you can imagine, Big Pharma and the FDA went after him hard. They raided his lab, they seized his equipment, they dragged him into court over and over, and they called him a fraud. Why? Because he was a threat to the synthetic vitamin industry, a threat to $1 billion machine. And here's the tragic part: the government sided with the money. They shut him down. They tried to erase his work, and what do we have today? An industry flooded with synthetic fractionated vitamins. Now, before you think this is just history, let me make it real for you. People come into my office every week with bags of supplements they bought online or at big box stores. They say, "Doc Jeff, I'm taking all this stuff and I still feel lousy." I look at the labels and what do I see? Synthetic isolates, cheap binders, and no cofactors. And I remember, it reminds me of a elderly woman I was working with. She was in her 70s. This was years ago when I had my practice down in Mankato, Minnesota. And I put her on a program, and she came in 3 weeks. And after, and I'm seeing her weekly at this point, and she comes in on her third visit, and she's like, "Jeff, I feel worse than I did when I started with you." Okay. And I'm like, I'm surprised to hear that, because she should be making progress by that time. And so I'm looking over her food journals, and she's journaling all her food for me, and I'm asking questions. And then I said, "Are you taking the supplements I asked you to take?" And she goes, "Yes, I'm taking yours and mine." Now, this is back in the day when I still had paper files, and I'm flipping back to her intake form. She mentioned nothing about taking any other vitamins or supplements before starting to work with me. And so I asked her to bring all of them in, and I would muscle test them on her. At that time, I was focused into nutrition response testing. And so she brought them in on week 4. Okay. She was taking 17 other vitamins because she read an ad in the paper or the magazine or saw an ad on TV that said, take this, you'll feel better, and all that kind of shit. And so I muscle tested every one of those 17 vitamins that she was taking, or supplements, or whatever the hell they were. Not one of them tested strong for her body. And I was able to show her that through the muscle test. And I asked her, please stop taking these, because they're vitamins. I can ask people to stop taking them. I don't do that with prescriptions. If I think there's a bad prescription, I ask them to go back to their doctor, to their prescribing authority, and work that out with them. Okay, because I can't tell people what to do or not do with their medications, but I can make some good suggestions with vitamins. Okay, and so she did. She went home, stopped taking all of the ones she was taking, and just focused on the program that I built for her. When she came in on week 5, she was an entirely different woman. She could not believe how good she felt just by stopping all of those vitamins that she had picked up at the the big box stores. Okay, so it's crazy. So when you look at that, it's like trying to build a house with one type of nail and no lumber. It doesn't work, and sometimes it makes things worse, as it did in this woman's case. Did you know that taking high doses of isolated beta carotene, which is a synthetic vitamin A precursor, was shown to increase lung cancer risk in smokers? That's because nature doesn't work in isolation. You have to pull things apart, or when you pull things apart, you can change the outcome. Okay, so here's the bottom line. When it comes to vitamins, quality isn't optional. You need products made from real food that preserve the complexity nature intended. Because your body isn't a chemistry lab, it's a living system that recognizes whole food structures, not synthetic imposters. That's why I'm so picky about what I use in my practice. If it's not whole food based, if it's not biologically compatible, it doesn't make the cut. Because my job is to help your body heal, not load it up with fake stuff that doesn't work. So now you might be asking, okay, Doc Jeff, if synthetic is junk, should I just stick to food? Well, that's a great question. Let's talk about that. Because the answer is more complicated than you think. Okay. At this point, I'm going to take an interlude here and say hi to everybody who's watching. If you get a chance, let me know where you're streaming from. It's always fun to know where people are watching from. I think you might only be able to make comments on Facebook, LinkedIn, or YouTube, I guess, are other places. That's too bad. But anyway, say hi. So, can you get everything you need from food alone? Right. So we've hammered home that vitamins matter and that not all vitamins are created equal. Now let's answer the big question. Can you get everything you need from food alone? Hey, good morning, Dawn. Great to see you. All right. The short answer, food should always come first. Okay? Always. Food should always come first. God designed food as the original delivery system for nutrients. Real food comes packaged with vitamins, minerals, enzymes, fiber, everything working in harmony. Okay? A carrot isn't just beta carotene, it's beta carotene plus the cofactors your body needs to use it. And a steak isn't just protein, it's B12, it's iron, it's zinc, and other synergistic nutrients. It's a whole food. And food is powerful. Okay? But here's the problem, and this is where most people get blindsided. The food we eat today isn't the same food that our grandparents ate. So let's break it down. Soil depletion. Modern farming strips the land. Okay. We've been monocropping, over fertilizing, and spraying for decades. Studies show the mineral content of fruits and vegetables has dropped drastically in the last 50 years. You'd have to eat 8 oranges today to get the same vitamin A your grandma got from one orange. And it reminds me when I was on a study down in Costa Rica. I was with my in-laws. My wife at the time was there too, and I was watching my father-in-law eat this orange that he bought, from off the fruit truck. The fruit trucks drive to different communities, and you buy right off the truck down there. It was crazy. And I watched him peel this orange, and I could smell it. And I looked, and I noticed that the juice was just spilling out over his fingers and everything. And he's like, this is the best orange he had. And I'm not a big fruit eater, but I looked at that orange, and it's like my body's like, eat this. He goes, he offered me a slice, and I tell you what, it was the first orange that I ate, I feel like was what oranges should taste like. The flavors just exploded, and you could feel the body was like, holy cow, there's nutrients, real food in here. And so the rest of the time we were in Costa Rica, I ate as much of their fruit and vegetables as I could, because it was down in Costa Rica. I think their government law is all food needs to be organic. They don't permit chemicals and all that kind of crap like we do up here. And I hear stories, countless stories of people, of my clients who go on vacation in Europe. They eat whatever they want over there, and they come back and start eating American food again and get sick. It's crazy. All right. So the second thing that depletes our food, early harvest and storage. That apple that you grab from the grocery store, it was likely picked weeks ago before it was ripe. And then it's stored in cold rooms, and vitamins start degrading the moment produce is harvested. So by the time it hits your plate, you've lost a big chunk of that nutrition. And then we have factory farming. Animals raised in confinement on grain diets don't have the same nutrient profile as pasture-raised, grass-fed animals. The quality of your meat and dairy directly affects the vitamins in them. For me personally, I buy from a local farmer, and I know that their beef is grass-fed, and it's grass-finished. They don't grain finish them. And that is some of the best beef that I've eaten. And then you have processing. Food companies strip nutrients during the refining process. White flour, white sugar, canned goods, they're dead foods. Then they fortify them with synthetic vitamins that don't work the same way. A lot of times you'll see a bag of flour fortified with, all the different vitamins, or it's called enriched flour. They wouldn't have to call it enriched flour if they just left all of the vitamins in there. But I had read somewhere when they're processing grains for flours, they strip all the vitamins out, and they take them and feed them back to cattle. They won't put them in the human food chain. Instead, they fix it with synthetic vitamins. Where does that make sense? So let me paint a picture here. You could eat 3 balanced meals a day and still come up short. And that's before we even talk about stress, medications, and toxins, which all burn through those nutrients like crazy. So take stress. When you're under pressure, traffic, bills, job stress, relationships, your body cranks out stress hormones. That process uses up vitamin C, B vitamins, magnesium, and more. Chronic stress means chronic depletion. Take medications, birth control pills. Birth control pills, they wipe out B vitamins and folate. Statins, they deplete CoQ10. Acid blockers, they interfere with B12 absorption. So if you're on meds and you're not supplementing properly, you're operating at a nutrient deficit. And I'm sorry to say, you don't have a statin deficiency. Did you know one of the side effects of statin drugs, which is designed to lower your cholesterol, is heart disease? Most people don't know that. You're taking a statin to try to keep your heart healthy because we've been fed this string of bullshit about how bad cholesterol is. Folks, it's not the cholesterol. Cholesterol does not cause heart disease. It's the sugars and inflammation in the body. Cholesterol is just trying to repair it, the damage. And then toxins. Every chemical your body encounters, from pesticides to plastics, requires nutrients to detoxify. Your liver can't neutralize toxins without B vitamins, sulfur, and antioxidants like vitamin C and E. The more toxic your world, the more vitamins you need. So here's a quick story. A client came in eating a super clean diet, organic veggies, lean meats, no sugar. She was doing everything right, but she was still tired. Her hair was thinning and she had zero libido. I tested her with quantum nutrition testing and her body was screaming for B's, vitamin D, and minerals. Why? Because food alone wasn't enough for the stress load and depletion that she was under. So what's the takeaway? Food is foundational, but in 2025, food alone rarely gets you to optimal health. If you want survival, maybe. But if you want to thrive, to have energy, mental clarity, strong immunity, you've got to bridge the gap. And this is where supplements come in, not as a replacement for food, but as a backup plan to restore what life, stress, and the food supply have stolen. Think of it like this: food is the paycheck. Supplements are the savings account. The paycheck covers the banks, but if something unexpected hits, stress, sickness, toxins, you need reserves. Without them, you go bankrupt. Another way that you can get the benefit from eating food is growing it yourself. Because then you know what you're putting into it. Don't use chemicals. Don't use all that stuff. Grow your vegetables organically. So, does this mean that everyone should just start popping pills? No way. Okay. Because the supplement world is actually a minefield, and most people are wasting money or even harming themselves. So in my last segment, I'm going to talk about whether you really need supplements, how to choose the right ones, and the one thing you should never do when it comes to supplementation. Okay. So now that I've laid it all out, that vitamins matter, most store brands are synthetic junk, and food alone isn't enough. Let's tackle the big question. Do you really need supplements? And here's my honest answer. It depends. And that's probably not what you expected me to say, but hear me out on this. I've said this often with my clients. Supplements are a tool, not a magic bullet. They're designed to fill gaps, not replace real food. If you're eating fast food all day and think a multivitamin is going to save you, it's not. Supplements cannot outwork a bad diet. Okay? So in my practice, I use supplements as a tool to fill the gaps while I am helping educate and teach my clients how to eat again, how to properly eat. I have them journal their food so I can study the food that they're eating and help them determine if what they're eating is helping toward their health or if what they're eating is making their health worse. I use the supplements as a tool. While I am trying to teach people how to eat better, it takes some time to shift people over out of a bad, shitty diet into a good diet. Okay. But if you're doing your best, Eating whole foods, minimizing processed junk, managing stress, and you still feel tired, foggy, or inflamed, that's when targeted supplementation can make a massive difference. And notice that I said targeted, because here's the biggest mistake people make: they guess. They walk into a store, see a pretty label, and buy whatever's trending. Or worse, they scroll Instagram and other supplements from some influencer with zero credentials. Then they wonder why they feel worse or why they just flushed $200 down the toilet. Let me give you an example. A client once came in with a laundry bag full of supplements. This is similar to the example I shared earlier. Seriously, it looked like Santa's sack. She dumped them on my desk and said, "I take all this stuff and I feel like garbage." And of course, when you read the labels with them, it's synthetic bees, cheap fillers, 10 different products doing the same thing. Not only was she wasting money, she was overloading her body with random ingredients it didn't need. So here's the reality: more is not better. In fact, over supplementing the wrong things can create new problems. If you have too much vitamin D without vitamin K, you can push calcium into your arteries instead of your bones. Megadosing iron when you're not deficient, that can damage your organs. High dose B6 over time, it can cause nerve damage. And this is why I'm so passionate about testing. I don't guess, because your body is unique. Your stress load, your diet, your genetics, they all play a role. What your friend needs might actually wreck you. Every one of us are unique. And quantum nutrition testing helps me identify exactly what it works. And as I'm saying here in my notes, this is where quantum nutrition testing comes in. Okay? This is what I do every day in my practice. I don't care what a magazine says you should take. I don't care what I only care what your body says. Okay? With QNT, I test your nervous system and your body's biofeedback in real time. It tells us what's weak, what's stressed, and what nutrients will restore balance. There's no guessing, there's no gimmicks, just your body leading the way. So let me be clear. I'm not an anti-supplement. I'm anti-blind supplement. When you test and get the right protocol, the results can be life-changing. Energy comes back, brain fog clears, sleep improves, hormones stabilize. Not because I'm magic, but because we gave your body the raw materials it was missing so it could do what it's designed to do: heal. So here's my advice. Start with food. Always build a foundation with real whole food. Choose quality over quantity. Whole food based, biologically compatible products, not synthetic garbage from the drugstore. And then stop guessing. Find out what your body needs through testing. If you take nothing else from today's show, take this. Health isn't complicated. It's about giving your body what it's been starving for and taking away what's holding it back. So now let's wrap this up and talk about your next step. If you're ready to stop guessing and start healing, let's bring it all together. I covered a lot today. I talked about why vitamins matter, because they're the spark plugs for your body's engine, and without them, nothing fires right. I broke down the two families, fat-soluble and water-soluble, how they work, why absorption matters, and why just taking random pills isn't the answer. And I exposed the truth about synthetic vitamins and why quality is everything. I talked about food, why it's the foundation, but why food alone often isn't enough in the world we live in today. And finally, we talked about supplements, when they help, when they hurt, and how to stop wasting money on the wrong stuff. Here's the big takeaway. Your body is brilliantly designed. It wants to heal, but it can't do that without the raw materials it needs. And in today's environment, stress, toxins, processed food, it's almost impossible to get there on food alone. But this is where most people get stuck. They know something's wrong, they know they need help, but they don't know where to start, so they guess. They buy random supplements, cross their fingers, and hope for the best. And listen, hope is not a strategy, testing is. And when you test, you stop guessing. You find out exactly what your body needs and what's holding it back. That's why I do what I do. Quantum nutrition testing takes the mystery out of health. We listen to your body. I let it tell us what it needs to heal. The body knows every step of the way, and it will guide us through the layers that your body needs to do, whether it starts with detoxing or evicting the parasites or getting the heavy metals out and draining all that stuff out. It'll tell us every step of the way which organ system to start with or which gland system to start with. It knows through quantum nutrition testing. And I've been doing this over 16 years because I've had dramatic changes in my own health and I had to learn how to do it. And since I've been practicing, I see dramatic changes in the people that I'm helping. When I can see the light come back into their face, their energy, their eyes light up. Their energy feels great. I can feel the energy shifts in people. And it's awesome. So here's your next step. There's a ticker running along the bottom of the screen during the whole show. Book your full assessment with me. Stop wasting money, stop spinning your wheels, and start getting results. You can call the office, send me a message, or go to evansonholistic.com and schedule online. Okay? Don't wait. This is where I'm supposed to share my other screen up here. Dun, dun, dun. Right here. Okay? Don't wait. Right there, you can take your camera on your phone and scan the QR code right up here if you want help finding that link. Scan that code, it'll bring you to the schedule page. And then at some point, it's going to ask you for a code, Health Truth. Type that in, you get $200 off. Don't wait. Your health is the most valuable thing that you have, and I will help you get back into balance. Okay. And one last thing, I'm going to be sharing more about this in upcoming webinars, so make sure you're on my email list. You can, there's a spot on the website to drop into. I'll go deeper into real food, supplementation, and practical steps that you can take every day to protect your health and your family's health. Okay. Other QR codes up here. All right. If you're interested in purchasing my book, thank you. I appreciate it. Please do so. You can scan this QR code. It will bring you to a point online at Amazon where you can order that and it'll get delivered to you. And then if you're looking for some very specific personal growth, the best program that I have ever come across is the Wake Up Warrior Challenge. And that helps you get in the right mind space, helps you get out of your head. Okay. Scan that QR code and sign up. It's a 42-day self-guided challenge. It's a mix of audio files, video files, some reading. There's some movies in there. Awesome experience. I can't say enough about it. I did the 42-day challenge. That spun me up into a 4-month program with them, which was just mind-blowing experience to do. So consider that. And then, if you're interested, in October, I am speaking with a lot of other. This is like a bucket list item for me. I was invited to speak at the Quantum Leap Conference 2025 in Orlando, Florida. And you can scan that QR code right there and jump in with the VIP ticket. Folks, if you go to the conference, you're going to want to go in the VIP. And this is for people that are holistic health practitioners, could be people in the medical field interested in holistic, or it could be someone who is simply interested in bringing holistic health to their family. Okay. You will hear from some of the top speakers of the industry speaking on the stage. And to me, it's a huge privilege and benefit to share the stage with them. I'm really humbled when I think about it, because wow. And you'll hear more of my story and how my practice has been going. But it's definitely it's one of the best conferences I have ever been to. Last year was their first one. This is their second one. So get in on this, folks. You're not going to want to miss it if you're interested in holistic health. And you don't have to be a practitioner. You can be exploring and all that. Great place to do it. And it's a great group of people down there. Okay. Here's the first page again. And please schedule up. I have room in my schedule for new clients. At least do the assessment and find out what's going on with you, and you can learn at that time how the program works. Okay. So I love you guys. Let me just finish up here. So let's close with a moment of gratitude and a short prayer. Lord, thank you for giving us everything we need in your creation. The food, the wisdom, and the tools to care for these bodies you've entrusted to us. Help us to be good stewards of our health so that we can live with energy, clarity, and purpose. Guide those listening today to take the steps they need for healing and restoration. Amen. And friends, that's it for today's show. Look at that. Fell in just under an hour. If this episode helped you, please share it. Someone you know needs this message. Until next time, stay strong, stay healthy, and take care of yourself.